Listen, I just wanted to give my quick 2 cents on this. I'm on social media and I still see a bunch of women crashing out, upset, crying over the election results, over the fact that Donald Trump won and Kamala Harris lost. They're still out here so upset, crying, believing that their rights are going to be taken away from them. And it's just going to be this devastation and it's all going to be bad. And they're mad at men for voting for Trump. And there's still this gender war between women and men over nonsense, in my opinion, when I think we are at a critical moment where we should be all focused on humanity and focus on each other and trying to figure out how we are going to keep this country safe. If you guys aren't already familiar, we could possibly be on the brink of World War III. If you're paying attention to the news, you see that Ukraine has launched these missiles over in Russia, led by Joe Biden, in the midst of Donald Trump being put into office. Do you guys find that strange? That's all they listen. And once again, I'm not a very political person, but I do see what's happening. You have all of this brewing in the background, and people are still out here focused on the fact that the majority of the country didn't vote in a seemingly black woman as president. This is what people are so in arms about and hating each other about, when there is something much bigger brewing behind the scenes. Listen, I guarantee you, if something breaks out in this country where we're all at risk, all this gender stuff would go completely out the window. When you're trying to survive and you're trying to make it, all of that other stuff is not going to matter. That's just how I see it. And you should see it that way too. And it's not about fear mongering or thinking the worst, but it's about being more realistic and looking at what's really happening as opposed to what they want you to focus on, rather than focusing on the things that really matter. And so this is crazy to me when I see a bunch of these women still crying and upset and blaming men and mad and talking about divesting from black men, and black men are the most horrible creatures because they didn't vote in droves for Kamala Harris. Is ridiculous to me. And I always go back to a bunch of these women who claim to be so educated and so smart, and it just makes me question whether they really understand what's happening. And you have to look at the bigger picture. Now, if we talk about rights, women like to talk about, oh, we're going to lose rights and we're going to lose this and lose that. What have you lost? And it can't be just on the fact that you aren't allowed in certain states, because remember, it's been left up to the states of whether to unalive your newborn child. It has to be more than just that. But in my opinion, I just think that there is a lot more that we need to be focused on, a lot more that we should be concerned about than just gender politics. I'm just saying it's a lot more that we should be concerned about. And it is absolutely mind-boggling to me, the lunacy that I see in a lot of people and where their focus is. Now listen, vote for whoever you want to vote for, but understand that your life and your life outcomes and the decisions that you make are not solely based on who's president. What choices you make in life and the outcomes of that are not solely based on who's in office. Because if you've been a long time Democrat and you've been voting democratically your whole life, what advances have you made in your life since then? Look at who you've been voting for years, and have your life truly been something out of this world? Have you been able to truly advance with the person that you chose to vote for just look over the years that you voted the way you voted? So we know that no matter who's president, it's not a determining factor of how your life turns out and the decisions that you make, because the bottom line is the decisions that you make in life has everything to do with you. The outcomes that you have in life have everything to do with you. You can always blame others. You can blame the government. You can blame the black man. You can blame anybody else. But your choices and your outcomes are solely based on the choices you make in life. So you determine that, not who's president. And so as much as people try to say, oh, you guys voted for whoever voted for Trump, oh my God, you're just horrible and this and that. Well, they could say the same thing about your choices and voting for Kamala. Both sides have an argument. They may think that your choices for her are detrimental to our society and that you're horrible for voting for her. So each depending on what your values and your views are. So it goes both ways. But at the end of the day, when the voting is over, like now, and a lot of people don't want to hear about it anymore because either they're upset with the outcome, so they don't want to talk about it. But but at the end of the day, once this is all over, you go back to your regular life. You go back to your life, your decisions, your sanity, the choices you make in life. You go back to your normal life. And if you are making choices or decisions in your life that don't reflect the outcomes that you want, then you have to do something differently. It doesn't matter who the president is, black, white, none of that. So at the end of the day, you got to live with you. You got to look at your life, and you have to be accountable for what you're doing and what you're creating, what you're accomplishing and what you're not accomplishing. So it's just funny to me when I see a bunch of people crashing out and crying still, so upset, losing sleep, as opposed to evaluating your life and your choices and your outcomes and figuring out a way to better your situation. That has nothing to do with who's president. So whether you agree or disagree with somebody else's choices or political choices, think about it. Think about, hey, how is this political choice going to benefit my life? Think about all of your political choices over the years and how they've benefited your life or the lack thereof. Think about the choices that you've made so far and determine whether you are on the right track to success, and use that as a metric to continue to live your life and better your life in the way that you want to. And stop putting it on the government and everybody else and who people voted for and hating people for their choices, when your choices are the only ones that matter when it comes to what you want in your life. Because at the end of the day, it is your life. Nobody else can control what you do, how you live, and the choices that you make but you. So once again, I always say, listen, we got to do better. It doesn't make any sense. It would just be draining and senseless to constantly be mad and upset over other people's choices when their choices don't necessarily affect your choices and what you do in life. I'm just saying.